Hi, I'm Roberta. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're making macaroni cheese. It's a favourite in the deep south of the USA. It's certainly a favourite in my household, and I'm sure it is in yours too. I guess everyone makes it a little bit differently. I'm going to show you how I do it. Now, macaroni, the elbow-shaped macaroni, seems to be hard to find in Australia these days. There's a gluten-free version, but I can't find a regular version. But the good news is any hollow pasta works. So I use these lovely little penne, and I'm very happy with that. In my mac and cheese, I put some hard-boiled egg, a big heap of grated Gruyere. I love Gruyere for this, and it seems to be quite popular in the south too, because it melts without going oily, and that's what we want. And for some colour and a bit of bite, a nice handful of chives. Now, let's get our pasta on to boil, and then we'll make our roux. So while our pasta's boiling, we'll get everything else ready. I've already chopped up my chives, grated my cheese, I've got my egg hard-boiled and peeled ready to go. We need to make a roux. First of all, let's go back to the pasta for a moment. I want you to measure the salt when you're cooking pasta. Remember the Italian rule of thumb? For every 100 grams of pasta, a litre of water and 10 grams of salt, which is about a tablespoon of salt flakes. So we're cooking 125 grams of pasta. We're going to use 1.25 litres of water and 5 teaspoons of salt. It'll make a difference. Now, to our roux. What is a roux? A roux is butter and flour. Very typical base for so many sauces, especially in the south. I'm going to add a good pinch of dried mustard because I love that. And then we turn our roux into a white sauce. And we normally do that just by adding milk. Because I had this gorgeous Pepicea buttermilk on hand for several of our recipes this month, I thought, let's see what happens if you make mac and cheese with buttermilk. It works beautifully. It is slightly tangier. I think it's got a more savoury note. You can certainly use milk if that's what you've got on hand, but I'm going to show you how to do it with buttermilk. Let's go to the stove and make our roux. So I've melted my butter. Now, in with the flour and the mustard, and we just want to cook that for a minute or two to cook out any floury, raw floury flavour. And you'll see that it starts to come together quite nicely after about a minute. Now you want to keep this stirring because you don't want it to burn, and after about a minute it's very well mixed together and it's gone quite pale, which is also a good sign. If we were making a dark roux, we'd keep cooking it now and cooking it until the butter and the flour start to caramelize and we get a dark colour, but that's not what we want. So now I'm just going to take it off the heat for a minute and stir the milk in, buttermilk or milk. And the reason I'm doing this off the heat is just I want to minimize any chance of it lumping. So now that's mixed together, back onto the heat. I'll turn it up onto about medium. And we're just going to cook that for a couple of minutes, stirring constantly until it thickens. Okay, so that's just starting to bubble. It's nice and thick. It's got a good coating consistency. So once we've got those bubbles off the heat, and we can stir in our cheese and everything else. So I've got my nice hot bechamel sauce here, and I've added most of my cheese. I've kept a little bit back to go on top of the mac and cheese. And in with our chives, in with our egg. You know by now, I love my little egg slicer. You can certainly just chop it up. I just think this makes everything that much easier. In with him. There we go. And let's just stir all of that through. Now I've drained the pasta and tossed it with a little bit of vegetable oil, just so it doesn't clump together. And I'll grab that and stir that in a minute. So we have our cheese sauce with our other bits in it. We have our pasta, in it goes. We'll give that a good stir through. Yum. I think the hollow part is important. We want a pasta with hollows because we want some of that cheesy, yummy sauciness to slip inside those hollows as much as possible. So there we go, that's all folded through. Grease a dish, a baking dish, a ramekin, whatever you're going to use. Waste not, want not. Use your leftover butter papers for the greasing, and then in it goes. Yum. Oh, that's going to be so good. My extra cheese to go over the top. And into the oven for 15 or 20 minutes. Let's go. So here it is, our gorgeous, bubbly, oozy mac and cheese. I want to dive in. I know it's going to be molten. No, I don't dare, but you can see how crispy and crunchy it is. I would suggest letting it cool down just a little bit before you dig in. Mac and cheese, enjoy.